All right. The 2021 season is officially over. We've had about a week and a half to decompress from the games.
Now we're back.
And now we're back. So we have some new things, some new additions, some new plans. We're bringing some new paths back, and we're going to talk about that.
Some old paths.
Some old paths. Yeah. New paths, old paths.
Phoenix paths, risen from the ashes.
All right, so what are we talking about first?
I think it's just some of the big changes and additions to continue to provide value to the program, right? So like people have spoken and we listened. We're going to add warm-ups in, right? We've always had information in the FAQ and a long list of videos that you can follow and coaching and education on that. And we still realize that people just tell me what to do on some of the sessions,
we
right?
got it. We heard you.
Hold my hand, please.
And we've battled it for years and been like, no, like teach yourself how to warm up.
Yeah.
So we're going to provide some structure for that. It's going to be specific to the training that day, but it will still have somewhat of a template that's pretty consistent day to day in terms of like 5 minutes you'll do machine work or a general flow warm up. And then basically 10 minutes of joint prep, movement specific prep, and then some CrossFit specific prep based on what the conditioning is for the day.
Yeah. I think the next thing is the elite path, as Max already alluded to, is back. So Max will be running that, which obviously we took some time off where all our games athletes were doing something different. But
the
now
elite path was never really done. It's just that the elite path became on-site games prep path.
Right.
So we turned it into games prep. So that way people understood that this wasn't preparing you for anything other than the CrossFit game.
Yeah. So if you didn't make it, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. So now we're going to come back, and we had kind of like a makeshift solution in the last cycle where Mike was adding some extra strength endurance work as kind of a secondary session for people that can handle more volume. Now all of that extra work will be in the semifinal path.
Yeah. And that path is for those that are aspiring or have already made semifinals, correct?
Yeah, for sure. So you're confident that you're going to make it through that first stage of the Open. You're pretty, I mean, it's never a guarantee at the quarterfinal level. You still got to be pretty good to get through, but you're pretty sure that you're going to make it through that. And you want to put your training focus on peaking for the semifinals to give yourself an opportunity to make the games, which means that the skill sets are a little different and probably the dedication and time commitment's a little bit different. So that's what I take into consideration when I create that path, which is unrealistic for like, you know, Mike competes on a team at the games, but he can't train like that. He doesn't have the time and the resources in the day to do that.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing is this cycle.
I'm a master's now.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to just talk
this
trash
year?
to him?
Yeah.
Nice.
The 2022 season is my debut master's
Let's
year.
do it. Join the master's path.
I don't want to, man. Being at the games, watching the 35, 39-year-old guys.
They are
God,
so
it's so
Yeah, they're
good.
amazing.
I know.
All of the masters divisions have become so deep now. Like the depth is pretty amazing.
2013 made it individually. 2021 made it on a team. So I'm going to wait another 8 years and age up.
8 octopus. You're the octopus.
Yeah.
It's
So
perfect.
I'll just wait it out for another 8 years and hopefully
maybe
all my competition starts to wither.
The last thing that we are changing for the next 8 weeks, and this will be a theme through kind of the Open too, we'll kind of go back and forth, is CrossFit now will become the priority. So over the last really 12 weeks, everyone that didn't make semifinals, they went into their off-season program, which looked like linear strength, trying to build absolute strength, working on their weightlifting, a lot of technical focus, and then we got heavy. And then the CrossFit was kind of like, let's build the skills of the sport. Let's get you better at muscle ups and handstand push-ups and all the other things that. Did you have a question? You kind of raised your hand there for a second.
Well, now that we took a quick break, should we introduce that Mia is here and on the mic?
Hello.
Okay. Now we can go back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Now we're making the transition into, we're basically trying to put some things together with the CrossFit. So now we're going to focus on a little bit more chaos. We're going to have certain things, which we'll talk about, that we focus on each day, but there will be more testers. You're going to see more AMRAPs, rounds for time, chipper style workouts, EMOMs that are basically, you have to get so many reps and all those kind of things that you
Like death buys are kind of like an EMOM, but they're also a test.
I call them the Jason Khalifa EMOMs. Remember? He used to put those out. It's like you'd finish at 59 seconds.
He's like, 20-minute EMOM, row 20 calories, 20 burpees. See if you can do it. And I'm like, no, I can't do that for 2 minutes.
I know, 2 minutes. It's really like, I'm a minute or two into it. Like, oh my God.
There's Khalifa EMOMs and there's Hepner EMOMs.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. So the CrossFit will be the focus. And again, we'll touch on this in a second. And then strength is kind of that secondary focus where we're still working on, and Mike will talk about this, absolute strength and the technical aspects of your lifts, but that will be kind of the secondary thing in the day.
Yeah. I mean, you have to get stronger, but you
For
also
sure.
have to be good at CrossFit. And if you look at the distribution of tests, like up through quarterfinals, being good at just like, I don't want to call it classic CrossFit, but like testing CrossFit, racing CrossFit, AMRAPs, chippers, that is a bigger priority of the sport for most people. It's just, you also have to be strong enough to do that at heavier weights if there's a heavy workout that comes out.
We have seen in the program now that we've gone through a couple strength cycles, people are getting stronger. So that's why we're making a shift to let's work on the CrossFit as well. And we'll continue to balance that back and forth throughout the next couple of cycles.
Yeah. I mean, I like the change because it's a balance of energy, right? So like, if you look at the training and it's like you said, it's necessary in like that limiter season, that off season where we put a lot of focus on making sure that you are getting stronger in the things that you need to right away. But the majority of the energy that you're putting into that session is the first hour of that session. And then we're like, all right, the CrossFit now is what you do with the remaining time of that session. And we just know that from a lot of experience with coaching athletes that your energy starts to become a little tapped and you can't put the same focus in it. So we're just switching that a little bit. It's not going to be the same every day of the week during this cycle, but you will see it more often where we're doing the conditioning pieces beforehand. And then the strength is more, I don't want to say secondary, it is, but it's more like following up after to make sure that whatever the energy you had coming in fresh, that's what you're doing first.
Yeah. It's also a good training stimulus for people to get used to being fatigued and having to lift heavy, because it's a skill that's asked of you oftentimes in CrossFit. And I feel like it's one of the most penalizing if you're not technical or like anything gets amplified. So it's good to practice in that state, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. And we've seen that in the open and the games, right? Like lifting or doing a max after 18.2 where it was just a sprint burpees and front squats into that, or at the games with the run and the cleans.
Yeah.
We're going to ease you into it. I would expect the first week to be an adjustment week with that, right? Like you're going to do a hard conditioning piece and you're going to be tired and it's going to be hard to get up and get your nervous system re-ramped back up. But over the course of, this is an 8-week cycle, over the course of the next 6 weeks, like you're going to adapt to that and you'll get adjusted to it.
Yeah. So this is the start of our 2022 season. We're saying, hey, right now is that we have a full plan written out in a calendar of exactly what we want to do between August 23rd, which is the start of this cycle, and the open, which I believe is February 24th.
Yeah. If Chris edited this correctly, you guys should have already seen a brief calendar of that on the whiteboard, and on the website, there's just a more blown out one.
Right.
Yeah. This will run through mid-October.
Yeah. So in this cycle, CrossFit priorities, these will change from week to week on which day we do them. So it's not like in the past, we've done some progressions where every Monday you may have been working on gymnastics and squats or something like that.
Yeah.
This cycle, it may be a Monday one week and then a Wednesday next week, but everything will still be progressive. It's just going to look a little bit more chaotic. But the focus that we have will be gymnastics combos with any pulling off of the ground. So grip endurance style touches. You're going to see power snatches into toes to bar, power cleans into chest to bars, a ton of bar muscle ups into maybe a heavy squat clean. All of those combos, and it will vary from week to week, but those will be progressive. Then
is a ton of bar muscle ups 2,000 bar muscle ups?
2,000?
Basically as many as you guys had to do at the games because there were so many. That was like, how many was it? 75?
I don't know, but my hands tore open on the first set.
They did?
Yeah.
Yes.
You could see
Huge
you were like
strawberries right here. And I just was like, oh, it's gonna be one of those workouts. Okay.
And then
Sorry.
another day in the week, instead of it being pulling off the ground and gymnastics touches, we'll do squat combos. Yeah. So this is typical of like your thruster chest to bar that you see in the open, or something similar to that where there's an overhead squat and a chest to bar. Any heavy squatting or high volume squatting into gymnastics combos or upper body pressing combos. Then one of the days will be our more kind of cyclical focus days, which historically for us over the last 2 cycles has been that Tuesday session. They've gone through some testers, whereas like this past cycle, it was ski and bike cows. We'll have something similar, but now it's going to vary every single week. So it won't be a test retest there. It's just going to be a ton of, one week's going to be running comboed with double unders. The next week may be rowing comboed with burpees. And that will vary from week to week in a testing
Brandon
setting.
Moms.
Yeah. And then the last piece will be a hinging focus. I think the tendency for most people in the sport is to really focus on a lot of the squatting variations or a lot of the weightlifting variations, but they're really uncomfortable with deadlifts, high volume or heavy. And we see that in the open where like there's this huge separation, like in the 21.15.9 Diane and the 21.15.9 heavy deadlift and the handstand walk, where people just like got absolutely destroyed. Or the same thing with the deadlift box jump workout from years and years ago. So what we want to do is start focusing on that now, because deadlifts come out almost every single year. And if they don't come out in the open, they will at some point in the season. So we'll have a more linear focus with the hinging progressions, but that still will vary in kind of a testing or tester type setting.
Yeah, I think we've built a good base for that over the last 3 months, right? Like we did 2 deadlift cycles over the last 12 weeks. One was a focus on 1RM development, and the next was the 3-rep max. So even if you are coming into the program late, we're still going to have touches on some strength progressions with that, which I'll go into. I didn't mean to cut you off. And
no, you're good.
CrossFit,
This is good.
For those that have been currently in the program, like you've got a good base set up for this now, and we've got to get over the fear of deadlifts hurt my back. Deadlifts are, something that I avoid training them almost year round because I know that there's a high potential of getting hurt. We've set up a good base for this, so now you can actually train it and it not be a movement that you shy away from.
Just maybe as a tip for people, I think I'm one of those people who deadlifts just tweak my back if I do them heavy, can do them for reps pretty well. And I think one of the things that can help with that is just build the consistency. So if the progression's in there, hit the progression, even if you're not hitting the percentage. So you're touching heavy percentages much more regularly, and play a long game. If you really want to get good at deadlifts, do it for, a whole year, like this whole year's training cycle, instead of trying to get ready for, a bunch of deadlifts in the open starting in January. Start building that strength endurance base now. And I think that will just give people better confidence in the movement.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
And I think it layers into all of the other things you have to do in the sport. Like we talked about, the power snatches and the power cleans, any of these pulling movements off the ground, which are tested every year in the open. Typically, if you're good at deadlifts, you're going to be at least capable of doing the power snatches or the repeatable power cleans and things that come out. So practicing those right now, I think makes a lot of sense. And then that last day is obviously our throwdown, which will be on Saturdays. That will vary from week to week in the styles, but we'll still focus on that kind of qualifier style, open style workout from week to week.
Mike's favorite.
Yes. By the way, you guys didn't do it, but the throwdown with the 100 overhead squats with the barbell made me more sore than the 2 days that I made it in the game, that we made it in the games. I'm still sore.
Yeah. Well, you did 200 overhead squats?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
There you go.
So painful. My bones hurt.
I can't feel them.
Brandy is so tired of hearing me complain. Yeah. I pick up my son in the morning. I go downstairs and it's like,
shut up, Mike.
All right. So that wraps up CrossFit focus. So the strength focus, as mentioned, it's going to be more of a secondary focus, still a priority, and it's still going to be progressive. But what we're doing with this format, since the CrossFit's going to kind of vary and be a little chaotic through the order through the week, we're going to have 5 strength days, and all 5 of those days are going to be progressive. The order is going to be varied though. Okay. So we'll have like a snatch, linear percentage day, and then leading into some back squat, overhead squat, endurance, and volume. The next day will be power snatch development, power clean, split jerk development, and then some upper body pushing and pulling, absolute strength work. That's going to be progressive. Day 3, clean and jerk percentage work, and then front squat. And then day 4, barbell cycling focus, working complexes, touch and go cycling, breath work, lighter loads, just working on accumulating volume and practicing the skill and sport of barbell cycling, and do some form of like deadlifting, hip thrust, hinging. It's just going to vary based on, again, like what is being put in the CrossFit throughout the week. And then the 5th day is going to be kind of like your structure balance, your strongman, your odd object day, like dumbbell, kettlebell development, heavy carries, odd or strongman movements, making sure that we're all getting some touch on that through the week. So we've got those 5 days and they will all progress. But again, like the order is going to kind of vary through the week.
So those 2 things, that's basically the CrossFit of the RX path and the strength of the RX path. The ordering will be CrossFit first, strength second for most of the days. And the days that you just explained will be distributed amongst the week on different days to give just a more chaotic feel to maybe doing a Metcon of one style one week and back squatting after it. And then in another week, you're doing a Metcon of one style and snatching after it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to make sure that those days are still pretty progressive, but I want to get away from every Monday we're snatching in front and back squatting. Like I'm not trying to turn this group into weightlifters.
Yeah.
I want them better at it, but I don't want them to be better at the sport of weightlifting. We want them to be better at sport of CrossFit, and CrossFit requires you to be able to adapt to the demands of having various days. Also, too, just it allows you to have more time and space between some of the heavy strength qualities that we hit. So I'm going to make sure that if you're going hard and heavy on snatch and back squat on a Monday, that it's probably going to be like till next Wednesday that you do another hard session of that. Or if it's 2 days later, it's going to be lower percentage work of those same movements, just to make sure that you're actually adapting to it.
All right. That's the RX path. We have Token Mia.
Mamma
Who's
mia.
going to tell us about the intermediate path.
Hey, everybody. So intermediate path or open prep path, right? The goal for, if you're new to the program, the goal for intermediate path is to prep you for the open in hopes of making it through. I don't know if I should look at the camera or look at you guys. I'm kind of uncomfortable.
We are going to just listen to you.
Okay. In
You
hopes
look wherever
of
you want.
making it through to quarterfinals, which is that top 10%. So the difference in this path and the RX or the quarterfinals path is we have to focus more on skill development. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how fit you are if you hit the muscle up part of the open workout, which I would say always comes out, but I guess, no, it did come out last year with the bar muscle ups, and you can't do a muscle up. So during limiter season, we put a lot of focus into developing the gymnastic skills, and we cycled through them, and we hit them all with kind of the same focus, which was for those who didn't have the skill to develop it, and for those who did, to build a little bit more capacity in it. The way I want to approach the skills now in season or preseason is we're still going to tackle 3 skills each block, but we're going to tackle each of them differently. So there'll be one skill that we're continuing to just work pure skill on. And that'll be for those athletes who don't have the skill, learning it, and for those who do, to improve on it, because most people in this path, if you can, maybe you can do a set of 3 ring muscle ups, but if we can clean up your technique, then maybe you can do a set of 7. And then so that's 1. 2 would be learning how to tackle big sets of a movement or skill density. My goal for everyone in this path is when we get to the open, when it comes out that you have to do 30 bar muscle ups or 55 kipping handstand push-ups, you already know how to tackle it.
Yeah.
How to approach it.
Exactly. You know, I can do this in a set of 10 and then 5s, keeping 15 seconds rest because I've trained that. So we're going to cycle through the gymnastics movements, attacking it that way.
I like that. If you taking a page out of Adam Rogers' book, he's the king of toe to bar singles and massive sets.
Oh my God. I know.
And he somehow has figured out to do it faster than most people who try to string them. It's hilarious.
He beats me in almost every workout doing that.
Yeah. I mean, through my gymnastics development, I've had so many times in qualifier workouts where it comes out in a big set and I do it and I'm like, man, I did that all wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to do the whole workout again, which you're probably gonna do it again anyways in this path. But just having a plan for the first attempt, I think is really important. And then the third will be endurance of either a skill or a movement pattern. So what we're doing this block is pure skill is going to be ring muscle ups. So we're going to work on developing, for those of you who don't have it, getting closer or getting your ring muscle up. And for those of you who do, trying to increase, clean up whatever it is that's holding you back from getting bigger sets. The skill density is going to be kipping handstand push-ups. This fits in well with those of you who have been in the path because we just got off of a strict handstand push-up cycle. So we're just going to play off of that. And then the third one, my super technical scientific word for this is time on your hands. So this is going to include handstand walking, but it's not at all going to be just handstand walking. For those of you who can't quite handstand walk yet, we're going to be doing lots of holds, wall walks, shoulder taps, things that you just have to be upside down for a long time. And that's going to build your shoulder endurance and your shoulder stability, which you're going to need for handstand walks, handstand push-ups, overhead squats, everything in the sport.
Yeah.
You know what's great about this cycle now that we know the end of the season came, we're starting this new season, is that every path is going to be doing wall walks. No one is immune to wall walks.
That's true.
They were at the
Came out at
games.
the games.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
I wrote blogs, like little diaries of the day. And after that day, fuck my programming. Damn it. Travis and I talked about this. I was like, it's a weakness, but like it came out in the open. Do we really need to train it? It came out. We're both like, damn it. They got us.
I know. And like, it's one of those, like, I mean, not to go on a programming talk, but like you can feel like that when you look at someone who excelled in it and you're like, look, you're just good at that movement already. It's not like you trained it and got better at it in the off season.
Noah also finished really high in that workout and he equally did no wall walks. It was just that if you get exposed generally in the sport, you're like, all right, let's start working on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's all calculated risk.
Yeah, I think the lesson is now, no matter what stage you're in, anything you're exposed in, you never stop training it.
That was one of my favorite workouts at the games, just because I think it's when Mike and I became best friends. Just like the moments of, I don't think we spoke to each other that entire workout. But yeah, just laying on the ground, face sideways in sweat and dirt, and just like we just make eye contact and like, all right.
And every set we finished, our judge was Austin Stack. And and he would go, all right, now get out of here. You good? Go get those thrusters.
Nice. I wish we actually just had one camera on Travis the entire time with music playing. Oh, laying on the ground,
just like sleeping. I was in the back and Royce Dunn and him were talking and I was just like sitting there and listening. And Royce Dunn goes, we really got exposed there. And I just remember thinking, just don't cry. Don't let him know. And being really comforted that you were there laying next to me because both him and Travis were resting. I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's a good way for the sport to make sure people don't feel too cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the humbler.
Yeah. So that's RX Intermediate. Masters is basically going to be the same thing as the RX path, except with modifications and scaled tiers for all the divisions.
Yep. So we will use, just like we did this last cycle, the same template that we're using for RX. That's going to be kind of like the overarching theme, but there will be some modifications. I don't want to say scales because some things are just modified for what's needed in the Masters division. Some things are tested differently. The time domains are slightly different. Maybe the skills are slightly different. And then obviously we have changes in weights from 55 plus on. And so we'll adjust those as needed based on the workout.
Cool. So then the semifinal path, which is the elite path coming back, and just basically naming them appropriately because now we have a calendar. People would ask questions like, what division should I go into? And we think this will just be a little clearer. Semifinals, you want to go to semifinals.
Calendar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Pending nothing changes.
Yeah. True.
Whatever. We're so good at adapting to the change.
We've done that for 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. So the training program will essentially be the same for the general CrossFit stuff. The only change is that the strength and strength endurance additional work will probably be removed into its own session. The CrossFit removed into its own session, and then a base building endurance session on every day. I think looking at this year and looking what the sport has continued to do, there's becoming a lot more of an emphasis on the cyclical machines, and being more powerful on them and doing them in 10-minute workouts is the skill that's tested. But if you're going to be able to start training 11 months out from it, you want to build a better endurance base on all those machines. You want to build better running form, better rowing mechanics, better assault bike ability, better C2 bike ability, better ski erg ability. So I want to create a program that starts base building for all of those that we can almost lead in all the way up through semifinals. Now I know it won't be linear because we'll test competitions and we'll have our own competitions and the open will come. But right now is a time when we can have some structure. And I think that's an important addition to anybody's program. So if somebody comes in and they're already great at the endurance stuff, they might not need the base building. They just take those 2 sessions. If somebody's really strong, they can come in, take just the strength endurance, the CrossFit, and do the endurance. So it kind of gives the full gamut of semifinal athletes, like all the different size types and body profiles, to look at the program and choose what they need to get better.
Yeah. And I think the great thing about that too is we're in there. So if they have questions about what they should be following, those are opportunities for you to ask in the water cooler and we can kind of get you situated.
Yeah. I can't wait. I'm excited to get started.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is that? Are you holding a wand?
I found this behind the
Chris's favorite thing.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll join us for the start of the 2022 season. And it's been good. You're the octopus.
continues.
Continues.
It
When
does.
when does the new animal come out?
The new year.
The new year?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
okay.
new cycle.
So it's based on year, not season.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thank you.